So you know elections 2014. What he was running.
Welcome to Yorkshire. Can I just say that I'm, really pleased to see so many people like Colin and Chris that I've had a lot to do with, and Julian and Peter, and Roger over there, and Michaela, and everybody else who's been involved in this movement, joining us tonight. And I think it just shows what a crisis this party is in when you've got people of this calibre getting together to try and reform the party. A massive history of Yorkshire. It's a beautiful county, some of it. Unfortunately, we're here today to basically reform this party because parts of Yorkshire are no longer as they were several years ago, and things are speeding up rapidly. A good friend of mine there, Frank, you'll probably know him from the band Red Clare that's performed at the Red, White and Blue and pretty much all over the country. Frank's estate where he lives was probably about 90% white, English about 5 years ago. Now 3 houses on that estate are English people. The rest are Muslims, Pakistani Muslims. He's had his house vandalised on numerous occasions, big slab of concrete thrown through his window, but yet he still stands for the BNP and he still puts his head above the parapet. He's got far more courage than me. Yorkshire, famous for its sports. Rugby League was founded in Huddersfield in 1895 at a hotel there, the George Hotel, which is still there today. Yorkshire, and where I live in West Yorkshire, was the birth of the Industrial Revolution with the textile industry. There's a saying in Yorkshire that things are done shoddily. Has anybody heard that saying? Well, it's derives from shoddy cloth. A lot of pride these towns had in Yorkshire, these mill towns. I've been involved in this party for going on 20 years now. Time doesn't half fly. I went to my first election count to see Lady Jane Birdwood stand at Dewsbury Town Hall in 1992, I think it was. The time was bad then, but believe you me, over this last 20 years, it's just unbelievable now. It really is, and it's not going to get any better. Unfortunately, it's not going to get any better. The demographics are all against us, and basically Dewsbury can be forgotten. The fight is over there, and we're the biggest mosque there in Europe, or it certainly was the biggest in Europe. It probably isn't now. The Markazi Mosque, which is basically a fundamental mosque, and the 7/7 bombers visited that regular. The 7/7 bombers live 2 miles from where I live, in a part of Dewsbury. Where Frank lives, yeah. In fact, Frank was doing his work one day as a postman, and he was stopped by 2 Japanese ladies with cameras outside the house where this terrorist lived, and they asked him, they couldn't have picked a better person to ask his opinions on what was going on in the country and in Dewsbury. And they couldn't understand why we'd let this country get to this state. They just couldn't fathom it out. It wasn't in their mentality to understand why we'd just given everything away without a fight. And of course, there has been a fight, but unfortunately the British mentality is stick your head as far in the sand as you possibly can, and only until you've got someone prodding the back of your neck you can stand up and fight. People say to me now, it's too late, and my reply is, too late for what? Too late for what? Because at the end of the day, it may be too late to return back to 1950s England, but it's not too late to secure a future for us and put something in place that's far better than we've got now. And I think that's where we've got to try and take this movement, in making what we've got better now and pushing our ideas to try and transform our society and at least take it back and stop the rot. We've got to stop the rot. It's an area for coal mines. There are plenty of coal mines in Yorkshire. Sadly, again, we don't have any coal mines now. We buy cheap coal from Poland, which is rubbish and filthy, and somehow that doesn't quite add up when we're so environmentally conscious. We had steelworks down the road in Rotherham very recently. They shut another steelworks up, sold it off to an Indian company. You know, these were people who got up, they went to work, and they knew where they were in life. Now we've got a society where nobody knows what they're doing. We've got the youth who've got nothing, they've got no industry, they've got nothing to go into. They've seen the forefathers having this industry and now they've got none of it. You know, it makes me extremely sad, just like it does you people, to see how our society has become. And you've got people like Dennis McShane, who's the Rotherham MP here, who said recently there's no such thing as British workers, only workers. Dennis McShane. Shame.
I've currently got a
shame. Yeah.
I've currently got an allegation in against him with both the Metropolitan Police and the Parliamentary Commission.
Good. Well, like I said to Dennis McShane, because we fought an election in Rotherham, and he came up to me afterwards, all smoke, and said, "Oh, unlucky." And I said, "Dennis, you know, there's still plenty of time left to see you at the gallows."
Yeah.
He actually quoted me in Searchlight, so I was really upset about that. But it's true, he's betrayed the British people. He said there's no such thing as a British worker. Well, why doesn't he give his own position up to somebody else? You know, because they never do they? The media never gives their position up to anybody else. None of them do, none of the establishment. The BBC, you know, they talk about areas being hideously this and hideously that. Well, the top of the BBC is hideously white. You know, these people aren't volunteering themselves on the job centre, are they? That's just for us. That's just for us people, right at the bottom. You know, so my involvement has been, as I say, for 20 years in this party, and I'll be involved in the party for as long as I live, and this is why I'm here today, because I see the party has reached as high as it's going to get with the current leadership. We've got a man who I believe is out of touch with not just his own membership, but with the general public. I've done loads of jobs. You know, I've been a professional athlete, I've been a taxi driver, I've been a postman, I've been a paint and decorator, and I work as a self-employed builder, plasterer. I've mixed with every person of every conceivable background. So I think, you know, and I know the same goes for a lot of people here. And you've got to be like that if we're going to lead this party, because somebody who's never mixed with the general public, who's out of touch with everybody else, isn't going to understand how we feel. And if he can't understand how we feel, the general public, he's not going to be able to make the right decisions and address those people in the correct way. And I think that's what we've got now. We've got a leader who is out of touch with not only the membership, but with the population. He's not appealing to anybody.
And reality.
Yeah, well, and reality. He's not appealing to anybody. So I think we need to... Now, when I worked for the party, most of my time was taken up with members of staff and individuals bickering and infighting, and that was has been one of the hardest things for me as a nationalist and a patriot to handle, because the cause has always come above everything for me. And even though I don't necessarily like everybody who's in the party, and I didn't do when I worked for the party, I put all that aside for the good of the cause, because, you know, people are different. You know, when we're in this party because we're not people who toe the line. We don't follow the status quo. You know, and we're stubborn, and British people are stubborn, and that's why we're in the BNP. But we must get over this infighting. We must get over it. If we're going to reach our full potential in this party, everything must be put aside other than our goal, which is sorting the mess out in this country and replacing these morons who are in charge with decent people who actually care about the welfare of the country. You know, I think there's people here, I'm sure everyone here, that'd be an MP for free. I know I would. I'd do it for nothing. You know, when I was going to be hopefully an MEP, when I went to be interviewed for the selection process and I came second behind Andrew Bronze, I found it obscene that we'd take an £84,000 a year wage. I just found that completely against the party's principles. And my idea as an MEP would be to channel a good chunk of that into the party, whether it's employing people on a local level or whether it's giving it to head office. But I just find the notion of having £84,000 and then asking people who slog the streets and work for this party to do so for free and then put their hands in their pockets, I found it obscene and completely against its principles. And I think this is another thing with the leadership. You know, we cannot expect the grassroots members to go out and slog their guts out and work all the day and put their families to one side for this party and not lead from the front. And I feel that's what's happening now. You know, we've got a leader who is spending 3 weeks out of every 4 away in Brussels. He drives over there, which takes an enormous amount of time. It's impossible for him to run this party. You know, and even if all these issues of financial irregularities, even if they were all wrong, it's still not the point. The point is Nick is no longer able to lead this party. 11 years at the top of leading this party, you know, it's enough. Yeah. It's enough. Yeah, we need a fresh face. We need a fresh face and we need new ideas. I know Nick very, very well. He stopped at my house several times and I'm not slagging him off, and everything that I've said here, I'll say it to his face. And I've had a drink with him down at the pub on a social level. But my priority is saving this country along with you people. And whether it upsets Nick, because I think he's been in the job too long, I really couldn't give a damn. And, you know, the fact now that he's not listening to people like you here, you know, the stalwarts of the party. You know, I mean, Colin, when I'd sort of had enough of working for the party because I couldn't handle the infighting because it was doing my head in, Colin came to my house and went for some tea and he took over the subscriptions role. And I was a hard and fast, you know, Griffinite. I don't like that word, but I was, you know, I supported Nick Griffin because I thought he was the best man for the job. He came over as media friendly, and you know, he was moving the party forward. But he's fallen out with everybody. He's fallen out with everybody. I don't. Has Nick got any friends left that he has? You know, and I class myself as. I mean, I've never classed anybody as a friend in the party unless I know him on a personal level, but I classed him as a friend and I was loyal to him. But unfortunately, it appears with Nick that loyalty is one way. And, you know, my experience with this party and as a family of the loyalty is very, very lacking. I'll give you one example. My image of my family was put on 29 million leaflets without my consent. Right, and I didn't say anything about it because I could see that it was beneficial to the party and it was a good image to promote the party, and I was happy because, you know, I'm for the party. But when the party then doesn't answer your legitimate questions when they're put in the correct way and fobs you off, and you have to resort then to having to say to the deputy leader, look, what the hell is wrong with you lot? Why won't you just answer my questions, my legitimate concerns?